It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Taylor Clark, who is the author of the hit book, Beating All Odds, Discover Exactly How You Can Succeed in Life and Work. He is a practicing dentist, entrepreneur, author, dental success coach, and speaker whose passion is making life better for people. His accomplishments have been recognized in newspapers, magazines, radio, television, podcasts, throughout many cities in the United States and abroad. He can tell you how to set and begin to achieve big goals quickly and easy. He can also tell you how to avoid the mistakes that may be killing your chances for personal success and happiness. Be sure to have a pen and paper handy because he'll be giving you information you don't want to miss. And I just want to say, from a man who has a book, I have a book, but I sure as heck didn't get Brian Tracy to write a endorsement. Brian Tracy, everyone knows, the international best-selling author of Create Your Own Future, says this fast-moving, impactful book shows you how to do things that can dramatically increase your odds and chances of success in every area of your personal and business life. And then you got the late Stephen Covey. Congrats. He's the author of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and Leader in Me. And he wrote, trying to beat the odds in today's sluggish climate can be frustrating and slow. This book offers many proven and effective strategies that can help transform and propel your efforts. So congratulations, Taylor. And then the greatest thing about Taylor Clark is he was named after my granddaughter, Taylor Marie Farran. Is that right? How did you get named after Taylor when you're slightly past grammar school?
You know what? We'll just go with that. My mother and father did great things.
So tell us. So I have 4 kids. They've made 5 grandkids. I always said that writing a book is like having a child. I mean, it takes 9 months to be born, and then once it's written, then you have to go out there and sell it and publish and all that. So what was going on in your journey that would make you a successful dentist want to write a book?
Well, you're not kidding about it being like having a kid. It actually took me about 10 months to write it and get it published, and it took about 16 years to get it into my head. Howard, I've always been an avid student of continuous growth and continuous learning, and what goes in, garbage out. Well, they kind of lied when they said that. It's garbage in, garbage grows, garbage rots, garbage stays, then garbage out. And I just learned a long time ago that if it's to be, it's up to me. I got to get the good stuff in my head, and so do our patients. And, we remember when the economy tanked back in 2008, 2007, just the Dow went down to what, 6,400 or something like that. It's at 26,000 right now. What is it, 26? Or 24,600? Anyway, it's really high, but it got down to like 6,400. You remember that
Yeah.
Great Recession?
It was Lehman's Day. April, April, or when was Lehman's Day? Lehman Brothers Day. September 15th, 2008, which was the largest U.S. bankruptcy filing in history when Lehman's declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy for $600 billion and just tanked. And some states got hit more than others. I was in Arizona. Arizona, Texas, and California got lopsidedly slapped hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you remember what happened with your practice and the patients and the look on their faces when they'd come in, if they even came in at all. A lot of people that were regulars ended up not coming in anymore. I mean, it was just come in if there's an emergency. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people lost their houses. At least here in Boise, I imagine the market may have been similar there where you're at in Phoenix. And I could just see the freaked out look on their faces and the gloom and doom on the TV. The stock market's going down to zero. It's the end of the world's coming. Everything's doomsday, and there's no getting out of this. And I was just fed up and sick of the brainwashing by the media and all of the negativity on the talk shows and everything else. And your podcast wasn't available back then, at least to my knowledge, it wasn't. And it's just, I thought, you know what? I got a story to tell. I've been studying success and personal growth and development from the greatest success authors and New York Times bestselling authors, teachers, and trainers. I've been studying you at the same time as well. And I thought, this isn't true. I got to tell a story, and I want every single person that comes into my office and sits in any one of my dental chairs, I want them to know that, you know what, the future's as bright as our faith, and we need to turn our minds off to the TV and to the gloom and doom. We need to turn it on to personal growth and development and learning. And I had a story to tell, and I thought, I think I got a book in me, and I'm going to take the time, I'm going to double down, and I'm going to write a book. And every single family that comes into my office, they're going to get a gift copy of this, the first meeting with me or any of our other associate dentists. And I want to give everybody a chance to realize that, hey, we have two decisions. Every day we're blessed to open our eyes on a new day. We have a pair of glasses, two pairs of glasses we can put on. Zig Ziglar always said it best, one of my earliest mentors. We can put on our rose-colored glasses and see all the problems in the world and around us, and attract ourselves to more problems, or we can put on the rose-colored glasses and see all the good, see all the opportunities. We focus on opportunities. Isn't it true, Howard? We focus on opportunities. Opportunities is what we get. We focus on problems. Problems are what we get. So I wrote a book, and that's where it all started out.
And the movie, the TriStar hit movie Rudy, was the provider of the forward to your book. Talk about how did that journey go on?
You know, I interviewed some very, very, very inspiring and successful people. Some of them very, very famous, and some of them that you probably never heard of. And Rudy, the Daniel Rudiger is his real name, but Rudy, the inspiration behind the TriStar hit movie Rudy. I interviewed him for my book because his story that he got, the movie Rudy, you've seen it. Sure, everybody's seen it, right?
Yeah.
What an inspiration to get on the field and to make that last tackle and to get carried off the field and be the last Notre Dame football player to be carried off the field since the 70s. The real inspiration and the real story is how the heck did some kid from Indiana get the moguls down there in Beverly Hills to pay attention to him to make a movie out of his life story. That is what I wanted to tell in my book. And when I interviewed him, we went over that story, and I think that's 10 times more inspiring than the movie ever was. And after we got done interviewing, he was just asking me, he says, well, tell me about your story. What's your story? And I told him my story that I share in the book. And he just said, wow. He says, your story is every bit as inspiring as my story. And at that moment, I was flattered, and I took it as a compliment. And I said, well, thank you very much for saying that. That means a lot coming from you. In fact, would you be willing to provide the forward for my book? And he said, absolutely. So it just took off from there.
Wow, that was amazing. And how did you get Stephen Covey? How did you track that guy down?
You know, Stephen Covey, reading that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and The Eighth Habit, and all of his other books, very inspiring. One of the most inspiring business authors and trainers in the country. And I had some networking that I did, and I was able to, through a business associate, was able to get a hold of his secretary, and she said, send the book down, and I'll have Dr. Covey review it, and if he likes it, he'll offer your endorsement. And thank heavens for me, he liked it, and he gave me his endorsement. And I was just, Howard, I'm still kicking myself. I'll kick myself for the rest of my life, but I was planning with him a trip to his offices there in Provo, Utah, to go get a picture with him holding my book. And he had that unfortunate mountain biking accident that he fell and just never did recover. So those plans unfortunately, will never take place. But I wish I would have taken advantage of it a lot sooner, like I could have. But a great man, and appreciate his support in my book.
It's so sad because he was out there, trying to do the right thing, and he was out there exercising and mountain biking, and in doing the right thing, that ended his life. That's always it's tough. And I don't know how to do biking. I did 3 Ironmans 3 years in a row, but my gosh, after I was almost killed, ran over. I mean, every year for those 3 years, one person on a bicycle in our group was ran over and killed. And I said, it's one a year. There's a big thread on Dentaltown about it. And it's like, so then if you go off-road, it's just as dangerous too, with all the rocks and saguaro cactuses and all that stuff like that. It's tough. But that was a sad day when he passed. You know, a lot of dentists, they're very afraid if their patient saw that they own a Mercedes-Benz or a big house, or they almost want to not be transparent. But you actually give your patients a copy of your book, don't you?
I do. Every single new patient family, that's the first thing we do. It's a gift, a new patient welcome gift, and there's a letter in there. And one of the neat things for me is to get a random email or a Facebook request or a note on social media or something about somebody who read the book and they say it changed their life in some way, or they passed it on to their struggling adult children or whatever the case may be. And every single family. And Howard, can I tell you what happened a couple of years ago with that?
Yes.
I got this random letter, and it's happened again since then. But I got this random letter from a prison, and it was from an inmate up there, and the letter was just a heartfelt letter that said, "Dr. Clark, thank you so much for writing your book, Beating All Odds. It has changed my life. It has motivated me to not only get out of here, but I'm going to get out. When I do get out, I'm going to make something of myself. And basically, I'm not coming back. And thank you so much for writing that." And that's why I wrote it. I wanted to be able to inspire and help make life better for every single person that comes into contact with me. Provide increase for them.
Yeah, but do you agree that a lot of dentists are very shy about their success to their patients? I mean, when I ask any Joe Blow on the street from where I was born in Kansas to Arizona and say, if you had to have a coronary artery bypass, would you rather have a cardiologist that drives, a Yugo or a Mercedes-Benz? I mean, don't patients kind of equate success with, well, you must be kind of good? I mean, I don't know any I mean, if you're a rich athlete, you are probably good in sports. If you're a successful dentist, you're probably good in dentistry. But it seems like dentists are very shy about their success.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And isn't it true that when we do get success, there's nobody out there publicizing it and broadcasting it to all the cars that drive by our office? We as dentists and entrepreneurs, we have to figure out how to share that success with the people that are trusting us with their teeth and their health and their lives. So it's something that we can't be afraid to do.
You and I both went to Creighton. I obviously was there 80 to 83. You got out in 2002. But a lot of people are coming out of dental school today and saying, I don't want to listen to Grandpa Howie and I don't want to listen to Taylor, because times were different back then. Taylor graduated during the golden years, and now it's just incredibly harder. What piece of advice would you give? I'm down here in Arizona. We got 2 dental schools in Phoenix. We got one in Mesa, Arizona, A.T. Still. We got Midwestern in Glendale. These kids are coming out of school $400,000 in debt. What is the number one piece of advice you wish you had known as a young dentist fresh out of school, and does it still apply today?
Oh, absolutely. The principles of success, Howard, wouldn't you agree? They're timeless. In fact, most of them you didn't invent, I didn't invent. They've been around for thousands of years, and it's those fortunate ones who pursue the principles of success that are able to find out what they are, and they work in any age. They work now. They worked 2,000 years ago. They worked when you graduated in 83, when I did in 2002. And you mentioned $400,000 debt. Howard, I was on stage several years ago with Gordon Christensen in Florida, and he opened. I closed for this particular event. And in his talk, he said, there are dentists today, and this was in 2014. He said, there are dentists that I know of today that are graduating with north of $1 million debt out of dental school, and it's becoming more and more common. And you ask me, what's the number one piece of advice that I would give to these young dentists coming fresh out of school? And it would be this, Howard. It would be, you know what? You got to find yourself a mentor. You got to find somebody that can help you leapfrog your way to success. You cannot live long enough to make all the mistakes and learn from them yourself. You got to find somebody that has made the mistakes or has learned from others who have made the mistakes, And you got to learn from them and leapfrog your way to success. Your learning curve will be exponentially faster if you do that. Get yourself a mentor. Plug yourself into podcasts like yours.
Yeah, we when you're talking about dentists north of $1 million in debt, I've seen them. I mean, there was one that was all over the social media and on Dental Town. He was an orthodontist, but my gosh, if you go to private Creighton University undergrad, you might graduate $100,000 there. If you go to these private schools now, they're $100,000 a year, but then they get accepted into grad school, which can be 3 years to become an orthodontist, and then if they settle down and get married and have a few kids in school, yeah, they come out of school $1 million in debt.
Absolutely, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. That the trend is continuing in that direction.
Right. So another reason I wanted to have you on the show, not just as your book, but you're such an entrepreneur. You are the leader in dental assisting schools, and you're always talking about how, you know, that if a dental office isn't being used on a Saturday, that you think the best idea is to operate a Saturday dental assisting school. Talk about your journey. How did you get into dental assisting schools? And is that something you still recommend?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Years ago, you're actually almost 15, 20 years ago is when I first heard about the concept or the idea of having a dental assisting school in your office. And I just remember just sitting there late at night one night and just I was actually rocking my newborn baby, and I just got to thinking, you know, I got this facility with all this equipment, and I've got this this physical plant that's just sitting there doing nothing for me on the weekends. And it just kind of made me sick because the overhead doesn't go away. I'm still paying for it. Just because I'm not open on Saturday doesn't mean that I'm still not paying the overhead. And I was actually forced into thinking outside the box a little bit, Howard. I won't go into detail, but I had a severe skin sensitivity with wearing any type of healthcare glove, and had seen 5 dermatologists and a dermatopathologist, and had patch testing with 150 plus allergens on my back by the specialist out of state to try and figure out what I was allergic to. And long story short, I couldn't practice dentistry full time anymore, and I was only 3 years out of school. And I had to figure out a way to carry my business forward and to provide income for my family, despite not being able to practice full time. And it was then that I got my first associate and figured out, you know what, I could take my excellent dental assistant and build a dental assisting school program and have her teach it and open my office on Saturdays and bring people into the field of dentistry so they don't have to go so far into debt like all of the vocational schools around many of our cities, where they're going $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 and then 8 months full time, Monday through Friday, and not getting the wages from their job. Man, it's expensive for people to get into the field of dentistry that way. And I thought, why not have an entry-level program? And in your dental MBA series, you highly recommend doctors consider an entry-level program or getting assistance from an entry-level program. And it was a hit, Howard. It was a hit. We started our first classes about 13 years ago. And the next thing I know, Channel 7 News, the NBC affiliate, has us on there. And we're on the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock news, and then replay it 24 hours on the Sunday night or all day Sunday. And then Monday morning, mid-morning news, we're on again. And it's been a dream. And ever since then, other doctors from other parts of our state contacted me, and we did Assist to Succeed School too. And then the next thing you know, Jacksonville, Florida, we go to Anchorage, Alaska, Centerville, Utah, and Michigan. And there's over 115 offices throughout the country that have started the Assist to Succeed program, and it's very, very much alive. And it is something that every dentist, if your area is available, I highly recommend you check and see if your area is available and consider operating a dental assisting school program in your office. It is a great source of additional revenue and provides a way for these people to get into dentistry without going so far into debt.
So is it a franchise, like a territory? Like if somebody goes to Arizona, do they get the whole state? I mean, I see you have a school in Sholo. Who's your dentist up there in Sholo doing that?
Kyle, I'm not remembering his last name right off the bat, but his first name's Kyle. But it is not a franchise. We don't desire to have any of our clients be financially obligated to us forever like franchise models are, but instead it's a licensing arrangement where we do have an area of exclusivity. If a doctor inquires about the program, we see first if their area is available. If it is, we license them to lock up that area of exclusivity, and we have a simple 5-year licensing term where they pay us a licensing fee based on their school revenue. They don't pay us anything until their school succeeds. We don't succeed until they succeed. And then after that 5-year period, we drop our licensing fee and it goes away, and they get to operate that program forever as long as they're in business and stay active.
So what's the curriculum like? How long does it, is the assistants that go every Saturday? Is some of it online, or is it all on school, or how does it actually work?
It's the most popular way of doing it is on Saturdays, and it can be anywhere between 9 to 12 weeks. Most of our clients, including myself, we do it in a 10-week course, 8-hour sessions. And the first 2 to 2.5 hours is PowerPoint lecture, and there's procedural videos. There's embedded videos within that PowerPoint where the assistant gets up and just clicks from one frame to another, and then there's that course operations manual that outlines what they're supposed to do in the back, the 5 to 5.5 hours in the back office operatories, where they take the people back there and teach them the four-handed instrument transfer, the asepsis technique, the alginate impressions, the X-rays, so on and so forth. And it's just a great way to teach somebody how to become an entry-level dental assistant and get into the field of dentistry with a strong foundation that they can build off of whichever office they choose to get into, and go from there.
So, my God, you're with Dr. Kyle D. Thomas in Sholo, Arizona.
Yes, Thomas. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is this big? I guess you can measure the success very easily. Do people that get the franchise, do they keep the franchise? Do they keep it going? Are they glad they did it?
You know what? We've had so many stories of, oh, this is the best thing that I've ever done. It's one of the best things I've ever done for my dental business. And like I was mentioning before, it's not a franchise. It's simply a licensing arrangement where we're mentoring a doctor into building a business that has everything to do with what the doctor already knows, and that's dentistry. It's not a car wash. It's not a sub sandwich shop. It's maximizing and leveraging that physical plant and that equipment that you already have and you're already paying for. And yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the gift that keeps on giving for those that work it and that keep it active. And the other thing that I didn't realize when I first started doing this is the real value, at least for me now, the revenue, and it's great. It can be very lucrative having that residual income come in that's independent from me being inside doing a DOB upside down underwater through a mirror all day long on 215. This is something where I can drive by my office and smile and see a parking lot full of cars, and knowing that machine is working and that those dollar bills are just printing whether I'm there or whether I'm not there. And that residual aspect of income has been very, very exciting for me and many of the dentists that we work with throughout the country.
So for people listening to you right now, I mean, you've got your dental assisting school, Assist to Succeed. You have your dental office, all about you dental, all this going on. What do you think people listening to you right now, what do you think they should make their highest priority?
If somebody's listening to this podcast right now, Howard, it tells me what type of a person they are. They're somebody that's not content with mediocrity. They're not content to just sit there and wallow in whatever conditions that they're in. They're trying to improve and better their situation. And the highest priority that I think every dentist needs to make in place is on their family. When it's all said and done, family is our highest priority. They're the ones that are there through thick and thin. And by all means, make sure those family ties are strong and put your highest focus on them and build everything else around your strong core family values.
And how many children did you have?
I have 6 children. My wife and I kind of like them.
Yeah, I had four. It's funny because there were 7 kids in my family, so 4 seems like such a smaller family. And now you see people having even less, but yeah, that's amazing. So your boy followed you into dentistry, didn't he?
Actually, he is actually in undergrad. He's doing his undergrad pre-dental classes right now, and he thinks that he wants to be a dentist. And I'm doing everything I can to support him, whether he goes to dentistry or anything else. But right now, my oldest is pretty much going in the direction of dentistry. And
is that Jason? Jason Clark?
No, that's Tyler. Jason's my brother.
Oh, Jason's your brother. My God, tell him I thought he was your son, and he'll be skipping on air all day long.
You wouldn't be the first person to say that.
Oh, wow. So you practice with your brother, and now your son may join you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's a family affair. When people have inactive patients, what do you think is the best way to reactivate a patient that came to your dental office years ago? What do you try to do to get them to come back?
You know, one of the things that we've done over the years that's been successful every single time we've done it is we have a well-crafted letter that we send them. And we just let them know, hey, you know what? Time flies and we miss you. We want you back. And we want to provide you a little incentive. And there's some offers that we offer them to come back. And there's actually 3 or 4 offers in our inactive patient or overdue recare patient letter that we send out. And we just tell them, if you call by such and such date, we will give you all 4. And the 4 offers, I mean, they have value, every single one of them, and they don't cost the practice much at all. But in the patient's mind, the perceived value is wonderful, especially if they can get all 4. And having that deadline, you call by this date, you'll get all 4. It really sometimes overwhelms the ladies on the business team because the phone rings so much. So, yes, sending a letter out, a well-crafted letter. And any of your listeners, if they'd like that letter, I certainly welcome them to email me at drclark@beatingallodds.com and just let me know you'd like my recare letter, and I'll work on shooting it right out to you.
Dr. Clark at beatingallodds.com. That's a pretty easy one to remember. You always talk about Dr. Clark. You always talk about your 86,400.
Yes. I got this idea from Amy Jones, and bless her heart, she has since passed on. Years ago, I was at a seminar, and she was talking about this number that every single one of us has in common, 86,400. And when I first heard it, I thought, 86,400, what is she talking about? But Howard, isn't it true? Every single one of us, no matter who we are, no matter what color our skin is, no matter how tall we are, short we are, every single one of us, every day, we're blessed to open our eyes on a new day. We all have the same amount of time to succeed. We have 86,400 seconds. And I like to think of it as work every single day as if we have a terminal illness and let every single second count. That's a lot of time, isn't it?
Yes. So there's 86,400 seconds in a day. There's 3,600 seconds in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. Just make use of your time. It seems. Tell me if this has changed. I mean, I don't know if it's changed from back in the day, but I graduated May 11, 87, and had my office open September 21, and almost all that time was construction. These kids come out of school and they have fear. And it's kind of like they need to learn how to swim, and they just walk around the swimming pool for years, dipping their toe in. And all these people tell them, oh, you should just go be an associate at a DSO. And I always say, well, that's an easy strategy to prove. Go out and find all the people from your dental school 4 years ago that went into a DSO, and they should all still be there practicing happily ever after. And you find out that the average dentist quits the DSO after a year. You see them 5 years out of school. They've worked for 5 different dentists. What is it about facing their fears? I mean, they know they should just do it, but they can't face their fears. Do you see it more common today than 30 years ago?
Well, I think in every age and in every decade of dentistry and any other business, fear is something that creeps up to all of us. And even solo practitioners and business owners and associate dentists. And granted, there's some great associateship opportunities out there that are long-term, and they're wonderful opportunities. But with everything, there's fear. And the one thing that I know for sure is if we will face our fear, the fear disappears. Face it, look it head on, and start taking action towards it. If you face your fear, the fear disappears.
And why do you how could they be helped to face their fears? I mean, I always say, what is your worst case scenario? We've had several people on the podcast where all they do is loan money for buying a practice, and they say they have only a 0.4% failure rate. I mean, what is the failure rate of opening up a new restaurant in Boise, Idaho? Is it greater than 0.4%?
A restaurant, yes. I think a restaurant for sure.
Yeah, I mean these restaurants, 20 to 40% of them go out of business the first year. And then here's a dentist at 0.4%. It's like, my God, the odds, anybody can open up a restaurant, but to open up a dental office, you need this little thing called a dental degree, which is 8 years of your life. I just think they, what do you think is greater, fear of success or fear of failure?
Probably fear of success. If I succeed, what am I going to do? What are people going to think of me? What's my family going to think of me? What are my friends going to think of me? Whether it's fear of success or fear of failure, we've just got to look it in the eye and face it and chase it, go towards it.
I was having dinner the other night with the Delta CEO, Delta Dental Insurance CEO, and we're talking about public speaking, how, we have this county meeting coming up, and it's amazing how some of the greatest dentists I know, the fear of public speaking is just, it's just so overwhelming they couldn't even consider it. And he was telling me he didn't think there is a fear of public speaking. He thinks they're afraid that people won't like them, that they'll say something. It's a fear of getting accepted. And I thought that was a pretty profound insight from a man. That the fear of success or fear of public speaking, and just fear of being not liked.
Whatever the fears are, it's when we go and face that fear and we do that thing that we're afraid of, we do that unpleasant task. I don't know about you, Howard, but I do know about you because I've studied a lot about you. It opens up doors. Facing our fear opens up doors. Public speaking opens up doors, and they're doors that we sometimes blow me away when I look back and think about had I not faced that fear, or had I not done that thing that I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't know what the results would be, but my grandpa taught me this before he passed on, and he was a very, very successful businessman, very successul. And he said, partner, I can still see his crooked finger as he's lifting it to point out to me. And 93 and a half when he passed away several years ago, and he built a multi-million-dollar business. And what he said to me was, he said, partner, he says, you can't be afraid to go out on the limb, because that's where the good fruit is. You go out on the limb, you get the good fruit out there. And another thing that he taught me was, he says, from the neck down, you're worth what common labor will pay. But from the neck up, there's no limit. And if we'll study and build our minds and focus on those opportunities, we're going to get opportunities that are just incredible. And some of them are going to bring us fear. And those are the ones I find that we need to tackle first, that we need to chase rather than run away from.
And you're up there in Idaho. My favorite billionaire has got to be J.R. Simplot, who he passed on, didn't he?
He did. He's passed on, and he's a great inspiration for me, and his stories are just amazing. I actually got to associate really closely with his chief operating officer in some business several years ago, and he told the story about J.R. Simplot, and I love it. He has all of his executives around the table, and he'd oftentimes say, well, gentlemen, we don't know where we're going yet, but we're on our way. And I think his point was is we're going to do the very best we can to move towards our goals, and we're going to take action even if we don't know exactly. We're not going to wait for all of the traffic lights to be green before we go. We're going to get going and do the best we can along the way.
My favorite J.R. Simplot quote is, when the time is right, you just got to do it. I mean, you just got to do it. You don't sit there and live in fear, woulda, shoulda, coulda, talk yourself out of it. When the time is right, you just got to do it. I mean, when you only got a 0.4% chance of going under, open up your dental office because, just do it. It just seems so simple. And I also like the other quote I'll never forget I think it was in Fortune when they asked him if he was ever going to get into politics because, run for governor or the U.S. Senate. He said, "Why would I run for politics? I already own them all." You remember that quote?
I haven't heard of it, but it sure sounds like him.
Another thing that people fear is that if they do it, it'll be a failure. But you always talk about the opposite, that adversity is your greatest teacher. They're afraid that something will go wrong, but you think adversity is actually a great lesson.
Oh, it's the hidden gem to growth, and adversity is the greatest university. And if we'll focus on every challenge that comes our way as dentists, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, it's inside those adversities. It was the great Napoleon Hill. He coined it best in his book Think and Grow Rich when he said, this is my version of it. Every failure, every challenge, every seeming downfall or disappointment carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater success. And we just got to be focused on that seed of success. We got to be focused on, how is this downfall, how is this challenge or problem, how is this going to propel me forward? How can I make this condition serve me? And isn't it true that when we have that focus, lo and behold, that adversity does become the stepping stone. It does become the catalyst to the growth that we were in need of to get us to that next level.
A lot of, we have a monthly magazine, and a lot of people are afraid to put into words. They're afraid it'll be wrong. And I always thought it was the opposite. It's like the thing I love about having a monthly column every month since 1994 and doing the podcast is if I'm saying something or writing something, I believe it. Well, hell, if I'm wrong, I have the perfect system to get wrong information out of my head. I mean, trust me, whenever I'm wrong, you can email me, howard@dentaltown.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, you should be watching this on YouTube today. You got two gorgeous bald beauties on this show. You don't want to miss that on sound only on iTunes. But every time I'm wrong, everyone lets me know, and I love that ability, because think of how many people that believe something incorrectly, and then they go through their whole life believing that, which messes up future decisions. So this fear thing, my dad explained fear best to me when I was a little kid. He said, "Look, right now, Howie, there ain't one person on earth thinking about you. So why do you care what anyone thinks? If you want something, you got to climb to the tallest mountain and scream it as loud as you can, just trying to get their attention." And he says, everybody who's shy and is afraid of what everybody's thinking, I don't have the heart to tell him no one's thinking about him. So just get out there, say it, write it, and if you're wrong, that's great. That's another form of adversity. You're also a big fan of Lou Holtz and his 3 rules of life. Talk about that.
Lou Holtz, Coach Holtz, is one of the people I interviewed for my book, and he's a very successful coach. Those that know about Lou Holtz, he's the late sports, not late, but he's no longer with ESPN as the sports analyst. But before he is ESPN sports analyst, he was the champion of the coach of the national championship Fighting Irish football team. And I interviewed him, and one of the things he said is he taught every single team, every single group of players, the 3 rules of life. And he says, I've never known anybody that'll follow the 3 rules of life that things don't work out and they don't succeed. And so as we're talking, he outlines them, and the first rule is do what is right. And rule number 2, do your best. And then rule number 3, treat others the way you would want them to treat you. And If you'll do those three things and do your very best, then things work out. They have a way of working out. And I kind of got a bonus nugget from Lou Holtz as I was interviewing him for my book. And I was writing fast and furious, Howard, and I'm writing fast and furious here with you because I'm learning as I'm talking to you, and really appreciate this opportunity. But another thing he said, he just kind of spilled out, and he said the time that your children need the love the most is the time when they deserve it the least. And I was writing that so fast and thinking, what's he saying? What's he saying? What's he saying? And he says, hello, Dr. Clark, are you there? I said, yeah, I'm here. Just a second. I'm just writing down what you just said. And at the time that I interviewed him, this was 10 years ago, Howard, I got 6 kids, and back then they were all home. Right now I have 4. 2 of them have gone off to college, but they were young. They were little. They'd get into things. They would spill things. And I thought, oh my goodness, if there's anybody on this podcast that's a parent, I have found that advice to be invaluable. The time your children need love and a caring and attention the most is the time when they deserve it the least. As a parent, unconditionally love your children.
Yeah, that is profound. And when you're on your deathbed, your family's going to be all that matters. I also love the fact that when Lou Holtz says when anybody meets you, the first thing they wonder is, can I trust you? Are you committed to excellence? And do you care about me? And I mean, how would you apply that to the new patient exam?
Well, I think that new patient exam, we have the opportunity from the get-go to show that patient that we care about them. And if it's just in something little, like giving them a gift before they even meet you, and with nothing expected in return, or just sitting there for 30 extra seconds and listening to them and telling them, tell me more about that. If we can provide more in service value to our patients than they pay us in dollars, that's the formula for success right there, isn't it, Howard?
Absolutely. And it's extra hard in, Lou Holtz is talking about, like he's trying to recruit you to play for the Notre Dame, can you trust him, but is the coach committed to excellence? But it's actually harder in dentistry. Like, I know the difference between my iPhone and an Android. I know the difference of almost everything that I buy, but when you buy dental services, it's really invisible to the patient. I mean, when you say that I need a root canal, I don't know if I need a root canal. I have to blindly believe you. So, can I trust you? And then if I trust you that I do need a root canal, then I'm wondering, are you committed to excellence? Are you going to do a great root canal? Do you do great root canals? Do you care about me? It's just extra hard in dentistry. Same thing with a lawyer. You don't know if your lawyer is any good or not. So it's just harder. Trust is so much more important when you sell the invisible. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And in dentistry, we're in a unique profession where people coming in, if they're not a referred patient from somebody who's already a raving fan of us, we got to start from ground zero, don't we, Howard, in building that trust? And I think it's so important that every single practice, we got to look at social proof, and we got to have a lot of it. Gather those testimonials, get those before and after photos, get those video testimonials, and have them on your website, and have them where people can see them, so they can look and see, hey, look at all these other people that have trusted Dr. Farran or Dr. Clark or Dr. Jones or whatever the case may be. They did okay. I want to be okay too.
Yeah, and social proof is like I don't care about any social proof about. I don't want to listen to what your thoughts are on a movie or not. I've always thought that the most raved about movies didn't really correlate. Whatever. But social proof is very important when you sell the invisible. The owner of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, his dad's a dentist, Ed Zuckerberg. He's been on the show a couple. He comes on about it once a year, and he was saying that the most important thing on Facebook was that your patients check in, because if the average Facebook user has 100 followers, and half of America didn't go to the dentist last year, then you see your friend Shirley just checked in at your dental office. They're thinking, oh, wow, I'm looking for a dentist. Because if you're looking for a great dentist as a consumer, I mean, without social proof, I mean, what would you do? I mean, what would be the process that you would go through to try to find out if Taylor Clark was a good dentist or not? I mean, what would you do? Would you call the Arizona State Board of Dental Examiners? Would you call the dental schools? But the easiest, fastest thing to do is just see who your friends and loved ones recommend. And then I've seen a lot of high quality research that says that if I was referred to your practice and I come in there already with trust, I'm going to spend $3, where if I just come in on some direct mail Groupon piece and I don't know you from Adam, I'm only going to spend $1. Again, because you're selling the invisible. I want to follow that lead with new patients. It seems like every time I talk to a dentist, if I was a genie and you just kicked me over and I popped out and gave you a wish, what would be your biggest wish for your dental practice? And they always say they want more new patients. Just new patient flow equals cash flow. What 3 things should every dentist do to get more new patients to say yes, or to even get more new patients, period?
Well, when a patient comes in for the very first time, the first thing they should do is somebody should be there to call them by name, to smile, greet them by name, and welcome them to the practice. We've been waiting for you. We've been expecting you. We're so excited to meet you. And at our office, we like to give them a gift. We like to give them a welcome letter, a gift, and even a little 60-second tour of the place where they can have that level of fear go down dramatically as they make the loop around the office and they see the 3D cone beam scanner and they see the wall of fame with the befores and afters of all the people that have been treated, and see the sterilization center, and give them a tour, give them a gift, and let them know they're in a great place. That's number 1. Number 2 is when they're taken back to the operatory by the hygienist or the dental assistant or whatever the case may be, the person that takes them back needs to edify the doctor and say, I don't know what Dr. Farran's going to do for that broken tooth, but I'll tell you what, you're in the right place. If anybody can help you with that broken tooth, Dr. Farran can. And then when the doctor comes in, just take a moment to smile at them, shake their hand, look at them, listen to them, and let them know that they're in the right place. So they come in, welcome them, give them a gift, give them a tour of the office, take them back, and edify that provider, and let them know they're in a good place. And that confidence isn't that true, Howard? The confidence of your team they exude in you, that translates over to the patient, doesn't it?
Edify, that's a word I haven't heard in a long time. Edify, to instruct or improve someone morally or intellectually. And you just said that the person giving the tour should walk around and edify the team, correct?
Yes, everybody edifies everybody. You want to be truthful. I mean, if you don't believe that your dentist that you work with provides top-notch care, then you need to go find somebody else to work for. And every position in the office needs to edify and lift up and praise every other position. You're in the back. You've got Patty or somebody that does financial arrangements is on the business team. You've got to be edifying her or edifying the assistants. Everybody brags about everybody in the dental office, and if you can't brag about somebody on the team, should they really be there?
Right, and when and that's another thing. When you go to the continuing education, there's always the right half of the room is all the individual dentists that came by themselves to save money, left their team at home. The left side, every row is a complete dental office. They got the dentist, maybe an associate, a couple of hygienists, staff. I mean, they have the whole table. And I always had my team always wear a uniform or today's dental, whatever, because that's where we could attract and retain some of the greatest people that had fallen out of love with their team. Their team wasn't going for it. In fact, a lot of them over the years were staff that actually came to the dental seminar alone. And then they would hook up with my staff because half the dentists there just came by themselves, and they just want to be on a team that's going for it. HR is everything. What is TOMA?
Can I say something? Can I say something really quick?
Absolutely.
I learned this from you a long time ago. I don't remember when you published your dental MBA CDs or your DVD videos. Do you remember the year that you published
1998.
those? 1998. So I wish I would have watched them in 1998. That was my first year of dental school, but I was fortunate to watch those early on in my dental career. And one of the things that I admire about you that I learned from you is, man, I watched those. I'm like, this guy has built loyalty with his staff. He's got a staff that's been there for a long, long time. That's what I want in my office. And I was very much in awe about that aspect of your business. And one of the things that I learned from you is you're very good at, and I imagine you still are. I haven't seen dental MBAs for the year 2019 yet, but I'd imagine you're still doing things that worked back then. Now, you express gratitude and appreciation early and often with your team all the time. You do that still, don't you?
Absolutely. When you sell the invisible, that's why I'm not afraid of any of these DSOs, because I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. The patients come in all the time and say, well, I only went there a couple of times, and every time I went there was a different dentist. And when you're selling the invisible, you can't have your rapid turnover. And the other thing is you just can't be toxic. You got to make your team feel safe. It must seem when you come out of school that it must be hard to accomplish all that I'm accomplishing right now, but it's actually 100 times easier now than 30 years ago, because all my management team has all been there 20 years. Well, when someone's been with you 20 years, they're not relying on you. You know what I mean? I could literally get ran over by a Mack truck and nothing would happen to my office, dental town, anything. And as far as that dental MBA in 98, I want to tell you that what I did is, after 10 years of owning a business, owning a dental office, I thought, well, I'm going to go back for a sabbatical and then go to evening school, get my MBA. That was when I bought my very first laptop. And I took my new laptop, and I only took notes during MBA class that applied to my dental office. And it was 2 classes a trimester, 3 trimesters a year. So that's 2, 4, 6, 12 courses over 2 years. And then every time you had to do the project, they would say, well, you should do it on Apple or GE or Amazon. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it on Today's Dental. And then when I came out, I read my notes. I filmed my notes. It took me 30 hours to read my notes from 2 years MBA school, and I called it the 30-day dental MBA, and it's free on YouTube. It's free on iTunes. If you're listening to this on iTunes, this is Dentistry Uncensored. But I have a different iTunes show called the 30-day dental MBA, and it's just 30 one-hour audio tracks, and on YouTube. And what's so funny about that is it was 1998 and this is 2019. So it was 2 decades ago. And people say, does it still apply? And I'm like, well, did geometry change in 20 years? Did algebra change? Did the Homo sapien change? Everything that Lou Holtz says is going to apply a century from now. How much of Stephen Covey's material is now being deleted because it no longer applies?
None of it. And it's funny. Stephen Covey's business partner back in the early days, Hiram Smith, just sits there and shakes his head and just he says, what is original about start with first things first, sharpen the saw. Stephen Covey took principles that have been around for thousands of years and just put them together in his own way that made sense to him. He didn't invent the 7 habits of highly effective people. They've been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when the new big deal for my boys was Tony Robbins, and he was saying, your attitude affects your attitude affects your altitude, affects your aptitude, and they were saying all that, and they were all quoting him, and it was like I can remember being in the car listening to Zig Ziglar saying the same thing. Your attitude determines your altitude. I heard that was Zig Ziglar in my dad's car when I was 10, and my boys all thought it was original from Tony Robbins, and I bet it wasn't original for Zig Ziglar either. These are just timeless things. I mean, like when you hear a Christian person talking about, well, Jesus said, treat other people like you want to be treated. Yeah, that was in Hinduism 5,000 years ago. I mean, so there's many constructs in religion that are dated. Hinduism, 3200 BC, from the Hitopadesa. One should always treat others as they themselves wish to be treated. I mean, we're in the people business. You got to treat other people like they want to be treated. They have to trust you. You have to trust them. I mean, it's people who are good with people do well in business, and people who do not do well with people have a very hard time in business. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And some dentists aren't naturally great with people. And isn't it true that we can help compensate for that by hiring and surrounding ourselves with a team that is greater than we are in our weak areas? Make our weak areas become strong. And
it's also the to me, the signal of a high self-esteem person. Like let's say you, if you're always, your goal should be to always hire people that are smarter and better than you. I mean, your goal, if you're the CEO, I mean, you want to be the dumbest person in the entire organization. And you see it in these companies where they're afraid to hire an assistant that would outshine them because maybe they won't get promoted up the ladder or whatever. And it's just it's just very, very high self-esteem to hire people that you think are smarter, faster, better than you. I mean, I do not think I can run my company better than Lori Zalowski. I cannot run my Today's Dental better than my office manager, Dawn, who's been with me 20 years. I mean, they're better at what they do than I am, and I feel grateful that they're on the team. I'm always telling them, Lori said something the other day, and I said, Lori, seriously, man, thanks for always helping me. And she goes, oh, you're welcome. But, I mean, I just could not do with what I do if I had an environment where I wasn't looking for the smartest people. And then the other thing is, so many people are afraid to make a mistake. And back to sports, you were talking about Lou Holtz. There's a reason the NFL does not like the partying in the end zone when you make a touchdown and spiking footballs. Because what's the opposite of that when you lose? Are you supposed to cry, throw a fit, take off your shoes and throw them at somebody? I mean, you should take winning like losing. And we have made a lot of really big mistakes over the last 3 decades. And we just look at every one of our mistakes as a lesson. And I sometimes people have said to me, say, you probably wish I never hired you. I said, that lesson is so important that you're never going to forget it. I want you on the team now more than ever, because I know one thing you're never going to forget. And that's what you just did. And I do not over celebrate success for the same reason I don't cry and mourn when we fail. They're not failures. They're just lessons. I've had $1 million lessons where I believed something and lost $1 million cash in it. But what I have lost $1 million in, I will not forget. You talk about TOMA though. What is TOMA? And how can every dentist leverage it following every patient appointment?
The TOMA is top of mind awareness. And with every one of our patients that come into our office, not only are we having a chance to do dentistry and make their teeth better or make their mouth healthier, it's an opportunity for us to build TOMA in their mind. You have 3,500 dentists in your city. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Well, you have obviously been good. Well, your staff's probably a lot better than you are at building helping build that culture of TOMA. But we want to build top of mind awareness in the minds of every single patient that comes into our office. So we put an iron cage around them. So whenever they have an issue or a concern with a tooth, or somebody they know, a loved one has a tooth problem, we want them thinking about us. You want them thinking about Today's Dental. I want them thinking about All About You Dental. And one of the things that we do to help build TOMA in the minds of every patient is when they go and check out for their appointment, we have a vase. And I got this idea. It wasn't original to me. Heck, hardly everything I do is not original. I try to swipe ideas that have worked for other people and benefit from their success. Dr. Brewer up in Montana got this idea from his practice. We have a vase of flowers, carnations, beautiful carnations. And they cost what, maybe, I don't know, 49 cents for a carnation, and they're long stems. And we have a little vial with water that keeps them fresh. And we have a little send a friend card that talks about our referral reward program. And there's a ribbon that's tied to each flower. And every time somebody comes out, we offer them a flower. And darned if there aren't patients that come to us that the one thing they want when they come in for their appointment is they want that carnation, because it lasts for 10 to 14 days when they get home. And that's something that we give out every single time. We've been doing it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. And I've just found that little things like that are the big things. It's not the difference between an ordinary practice and an extraordinary practice isn't something great and grandiose. It's just that little extra. And that's just one of the things that we do that helps people. It reminds them, they go off to work, they have a little card there. Oh my gosh, I had a great experience here. I'm going to give this away to a coworker, and it's going to benefit me and it's going to benefit them. So love doing that. Anything else that can build top of mind awareness in the minds of the patient.
I also want to say something. Sometimes people will say, they'll get out of school and they'll say, well, this guy is the top brand. Or I remember when I got my first cell phone, it was Motorola and Nokia, and Motorola and Nokia owned the cell phone business. And everybody said, you could never go into the cell phone business. Now Motorola and Nokia aren't even there. I want to tell you something. The average lifespan of companies on the S&P 500 is under 20 years. The average age of an S&P company is down from 60 years in the 50s to now 20 years. So just because someone else is all that in a bag of chips, and you're coming out of school and you're saying, I can never be like that. I mean, my God, it's just amazing. I mean, you would think that by the time you were a Fortune 500 company, you figured it all out, you were invincible, and in 20 years, you're just going to be gone. And they're almost never do a car wreck where they're looking out the windshield and stare into a wall. They're never looking in the rearview mirror, and they always get passed from behind. Everyone's so afraid of preserving what they have, they never innovate. So a young company, which doesn't have any legacy staff and legacy teams, and the best way to explain legacy, look at your remote control. I mean, I've never met anyone in 56 years that knows what every button on a remote control does. And that's the concept. I mean, all these people met and they all had to get their buttons on. I'm from the CD, you're from the VCR, you're from the cable, you're from the TV. And the next thing you know, you have a remote control with 30 buttons on it. But if someone was starting out brand new, fresh with a remote control, it'd probably just be like an Xbox joystick. It'd probably just have a up, down, left, or right. I mean, when your car comes to an intersection, you can stop and turn left, stop and turn right, or go through the intersection. And if anybody started their own television remote control from scratch, it'd have 4 buttons. So just don't be afraid of who is currently the top of mind awareness big boy on the block, because they always get ran over from behind. In your book, you talk about a $2,500 piece of a $25,000 piece of advice every dentist should follow.
Well, years ago, a dental consultant went into a large corporation, and this corporation, multi-million-dollar business, had kind of plateaued. And I'm sure you've heard this story before. This was years ago. So that $25,000 piece of advice would be more like a $300,000 piece of advice today. But the consultant was hired to come in and said, "Look, I want the executive of this business brought in this consultant and said, look, I want you to study our operations, and I want you to figure out what are we doing wrong? What's keeping us from getting over the hump, getting past this plateau?" And the consultant said, "Fine, I'll take on that challenge. Give me a few days." And he did. He stayed in the business. He looked at how things were being operated, and when things were done, at the end of the period of time, he gave the business executive some formula to get over that hump, to go to that next level. And he said, here's my advice for what your company needs to do. I want you to implement it. And when you find out what it's worth, I want you to just pay me what you feel that advice is worth. And he left on his way. And here is the advice. The advice is have your key people in the business, including yourself, identify every single day the top 4 things that you could do that would have the greatest impact on your business, and rank them from number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in terms of highest return on investment or return on equity of time. And then go to work at the beginning of the day. You go to work in earnest on number 1, and you don't leave number 1 until it's done. When number 1's done, you go to 2. When 2's done, go to 3. And we all have the whirlwind. We all have everything else that swirls around us and that's distracting. We got to do the dentistry. We've got to take care of the patient. We got to do all those things. But if we'll have that number 1 priority and try every bit of our spare time to focus on that number 1, this business implemented that advice from top down in their leadership and just blew the barn doors off their production, went just crazy above this plateau. And they turned around and wrote this dental consultant, or not this dental consultant, they wrote this consultant a check for $25,000.
Interesting. I want to go back to the TOMA, which is the top of mind awareness. This will blow your mind. Let's just look at from 2000 to today. In 2000, what were the top 15 best global brands ranked by Forbes and Fortune? Number 1, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, IBM, Intel, GE, Ford, Disney, McDonald's, AT&T, Marlboro, Mercedes, Hewlett-Packard, and then what is it now? Apple, Google, Coke, Microsoft, IBM, Toyota, Samsung, Amazon, GE. I mean, I have seen the biggest brands in the world be imploded in just like since the year 2000. So there's always going to be, you just don't live in fear. Just open up your office. Some guy said to me at dinner, he says, who's going to be the next Frank Spear or John Coyce or whatever? I said, it could be you. I've met John Coyce, just the loveliest guy in the world. Why could you not be the next John Coyce? I mean, if that's your goal to overtake Apple or Coca-Cola or Motorola, just do it. I want to end on this. I can't believe we went over an hour. We're 10 minutes over our brand. They got an hour commute. That's why we do an hour, or they're going to be on the treadmill an hour. So we got people sitting on the treadmill right now saying, shut up. I want to get off the treadmill and go shower. You're a motivational speaker, author, and business mentor for dentists. What mission statement do you live by with every one of your business endeavors?
To make life better for people. It's as simple as that. I want every person that comes into contact with me to walk away having and being a better person and having a better life because of the interaction they had with me. And with dentistry, with our dental assisting school programs, with the speaking, anything else, I want to make life better for people.
That is amazing. And my biggest one that I love, I'm so glad I podcasted you today, was the child, basically what you said, the child who needs you the most deserves you the least. Did I paraphrase that right?
Yes. The time that they need your love and attention the most is when they deserve it the least.
Man, I'm writing that down. The child that needs your time and attention the most is usually the one that deserves it the least. I mean, people don't need you when they win the Super Bowl. They need you when they lost all 19 games in the season. And I've seen that. And I've had several patients tell me that over the years, having patients for 3 decades. I'll never forget. At least 4 or 5 men told me, they go, yeah, when my business was booming, I had so many friends. I was always going to parties. But, when my business went bankrupt and I lost everything, I found out that of all those friends, I only had one true friend who wasn't a family member. And lo and behold, and one guy said to me, he even told me his name and all about him. It was one of his friends that people didn't like him to be around because back in the day he did something stupid, and he actually served jail time in Florence for 5 years. And then life goes on. He got rich and famous. He got caught up in the Lehman's Day deal, lost everything. And guess which one turned out to be his only true friend? The guy who served 5 years in Florence. That was his true friend, not all the other people who were there for the good times, not the bad. And that's why I love I tell my 4 boys all the time, I said, yeah, when you're young and healthy and everything's great, you'll have a lot of friends. But if you snapped your neck and you were a quad, can you name the only people who would be taking you to the bathroom and wiping your butt and changing your diapers? Yeah, it'd be your family. So family is first. Business is second. Seriously, thank you so much for taking your time today, Taylor, to come on to my show. His name's Dr. Taylor Clark. Go to his website, allaboutYouDental.com, beatingallodds.com, and assisttosucceed.com. And if you want to get a copy of that letter that he sends to reignite patients who have fallen off the recall to come back in, send them an email to drclark@beatingallodds.com. That's Dr. Clark at beatingallodds.com. Dr. Clark, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Howard. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.